Right, so last week I played the Masters tournament here in Portugal. It was a tournament held in Fátima from the 6th of April to the 12th. It's, as the name implies, it's quite a strong tournament. It's a close tournament of 10 players, round robin. So everyone plays everyone else. And the weakest player was rated 2150, I believe. The highest rated was 2358. So quite a strong tournament, and in the first round I played against the number one seed, I believe, 17 times Portuguese champion António Fernandes, grandmaster, and let's see how this game went. So the game started out with knight of three. I had the black pieces, and it quickly transposed into a King's Indian defense with the fianchetto. So he goes d4, d6, c4, and I had prepared this prior to the game. And so here the main move is a6, but there's a lot of moves, and I prepared bishop f5. Now there's quite a few options for white. I knew he would most likely go d5, which is the main line. There's also moves like b3, knight e1, knight h4. There's all sorts of moves. But d5 is main. I went knight a5. And now there's two main moves. Knight d4 is slightly more popular than the move he played, which was knight d2. And here, a typical move in these positions, c5. The point is that white at some point will be threatening b4, and this knight, you can see, it's very short on squares. So the only real purpose to this knight is to attack this pawn. And believe it or not, actually, it's quite a simple point, but quite effective, and it's quite annoying to deal with this. So I played c5, which is the correct move, e4, bishop d7, rook b1, a6, and here I'm preparing the normal counterplay with b5. So I'm expanding on the queen side, which is where I'm trying to get more space. b3, rook b8, bishop b2, and knight h5. Another option, as we'll see a little bit later, was b takes c4, transposing to some lines we might see. I played knight h5, which is a good move, and after queen c2, this is the first instance where I went slightly wrong. So I played bishop h6, which is not a very precise move. I was confusing this with the theoretical variation, starting with a bunch of moves ago. First a6 and then d5, if you remember, instead of bishop f5. I could have also played a6. Now, b takes c4 here would be better, and we'll see the difference in a moment. After bishop h6, the basic idea, by the way, is that I want to take on d2 and then take on c4, and you can see then I would have two attackers, he would only have one defender, so I could win a pawn there. But I had missed that after knight e2, if I go into this, bishop d2, queen d2, bc4, among other things, there's an exceptionally strong move here, that is bishop c3. So it's a very nice intermediate move. An intermediate move in chess means when you pause recapturing something or making the obvious move to do something else that's stronger. And here I would have to move the knight back, and then he can take on c4. And my pieces just look completely horrendous here on the queen side. So this is definitely not a good option. I saw that, but unfortunately too late, because now after bc4, he can take with the knight. Not with the pawn, because with the pawn would allow this bishop d2, and now knight c4, and there's no intermediates. But now what's the difference, right? What's the difference between b takes c4 here? Well, the difference is that after bc4, bishop h6, now he cannot go knight e2 because we transposed to the line we just saw after bishop e2 and knight c4, and that's great for me. That's what I wanted. And at the same time, if he takes with the knight, I will have counterplay, and my bishop is still well placed here in this diagonal. So after bishop h6, the problem is now I trade, right, and we trade the knights, but my bishop is just offside here. It doesn't make any sense. Also, knight e2 is a move that he always would like to make. So my play here really didn't make sense. I played queen a5, which is a good move, activating the queen, and he goes f4. And now, here for a couple of moves, follow a series of mistakes. It's a case of mutual blindness. In chess, that means when both players are not seeing a tactic or just a good move, and they both just constantly miss it. So I played bishop g7, which is a counter mistake because I'm not taking advantage of his mistake. The move here is queen a2. Now, this is quite a deep move. It's quite hard to calculate all the variations. Essentially, it's a temporary piece sacrifice. I was mainly afraid of g4, and after bishop g7, which is a great move, taking advantage of this pin, he would have to go for something like e5, and after it takes, he can take on h5, then I take on f4, and yeah, I'm going to win the piece back, no matter what he does. And basically I have a great position because I have dissolved all the tension in the center, and I'm up a couple pawns. This has many more ramifications and variations, but this is the core idea. So I play bishop g7, and now he goes g4, and I take on b2. So again, another series of mistakes, because here I had to take on e2 again. I took on b2, and after the trade I went knight g7, and now you can see why this has benefited him greatly. My knight on g7 is just a terrible piece. It cannot go anywhere. And he goes rook b1, and I go rook b4. After queen c3, here I had to go rook fb8. Now, I was afraid of the following quote-unquote queen sacrifice this implies. After a3, I had to take on b2 because there's a pin here. After he takes my queen, I can take the rook. So this is not really a sacrifice, it's a trade. But yeah, I have to go rook b6 here to stop him from taking here. And I was afraid of this position because I thought, well, my rooks are tethered to each other and they can't really move apart. So I don't really have much play here at all. But as it turns out, white also is not so well coordinated at all. And so this position should actually just be dead drawn. I mean, not dead drawn because there's still play going on, but it should be a draw. Instead I went rook a4, which is the decisive mistake of the game. Here he just trades the queens, goes knight c3, which is a good move. And funny enough, my rook here is actually trapped. I already knew I was probably lost here, so I went f5, so just desperately looking for counterplay. He trades, goes e5, which is a good sequence. I trade, go f4. It's often, a good idea to just push your passed pawns, even if you're losing in the endings. We're both very short on the clock here. We both had about 1 minute, so it was a decent practical try. Rook b8, knight e8. We trade. Rook b7, knight d6 takes f3. Here he could have simplified his life with king f2. I'm not sure why I didn't go for this. Probably he saw something that he didn't like. But knight d1 still gave me some hope. After rook a2, I'm threatening to push the pawn. He goes knight f2. And here, okay, I thought taking on c4 was the obvious move. As it turns out, rook e2 actually gave me some chances, some small chances. It's still winning for white, but it's harder, especially with 1 minute on the clock, because here I have ideas of knight e4 or knight f5, and I would still force him to find some small precise moves. Rook d7, knight f5, and rook b3 is a great move, so that after knight e3, he has to trade, basically sacrifice the exchange, but then he gets these two connected passed pawns just roll down the board, and it's winning for white. But yes, I would have to make him work a little bit more. Instead, I take on c4, and now he just doubles on the 7th rank, and it's just all over here. He checks me, and he goes e7, which is a nice little tactic to finish off the game. After I take his rook, he promotes to a queen, and after king h6, h4, on move 41, I resign the game with the black pieces. So not a great start to the tournament at all, but stay tuned to find out how the next rounds went on. And that's all for today, guys. Peace out.